I'm very sensitive to other people's feelings, so I think I just learned to like adapt and like shift who I am really early on. But then what I love about stand-up is like I don't do that on stage, and I felt like I was like, oh, this is who I really am. It's so nice to meet myself.
Yeah,
but
you seem real comfortable up there. I don't know. I mean,
stage?
you've kind of been doing it for like a year or something like that.
Yeah, a year and a half, just over a year and a half.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you for saying that. That makes me feel so good. You too. I always love, when you're on stage, your energy is just so good.
Oh, thank you.
And like, I think that time recently when you saw me, then asked me to be on the pod. I hadn't been to the Auden forever, and I saw you were on stage. Like when I walked in, I was like, oh, good. Ryan will like make the room feel like just like, even if it's just like, I can tell, like, even if like you're like maybe it's not going the way you want, you're so good about just like being with them in it.
Oh, that's nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
And that's why I need to stop, because I feel like I'm probably getting better, but I don't feel like it. Like, I'm like big on numbers. I've done like 320 reps in the last 2 years.
I love that you keep track. And I remember one of the first time I saw you perform, you were like, you knew it was some kind of big number, like maybe 900 at that point, or
900 was a big one at the Odd. I remember that one.
Yeah. Yes, I was there that night. Yeah, I was like, wow, that's so cool that he keeps track. And then I was like, and I'm just dying to ask, like, because I'm like, what is that in years? Because it can be so different. Like, so when did you start doing stand up in years ago? Like
November will be 9 years. So the pandemic was really like, I was like on track, So that was
the pandemic
like slowed me down a lot, which was good. And I'm kind of, now I need to remember to take breaks on my own, because I just get so into stuff where it's like, this recently has started to feel like I'm like just doing it because I have to do it, like I'm starting to like, like I need to do other stuff,
Yeah, breaks are good.
Yeah. I'm even trying, like, as I tell you this, I'm trying to convince myself I can take a break. There is this part of me that's like, if you stop, you're finished,
Or I can, no. Oh,
like, there's that part of me that's like, you have to.
I taught screenwriting online during the pandemic. Before moving to Asheville, I was just like doing screenwriting stuff all the time. And I loved teaching people screenwriting, but like, cause I loved teaching people screenwriting in a very different way than what I was taught. Cause like my goal was to make them just so relaxed, because I wanted them to actually enjoy their creative process.
Yeah.
And I would like, it's like, I don't know that I would be very good in a like traditional institution, but I was just like, someone was like, should I explain like this part of my like culture that mainstream won't know? And I was like, do you want to? And she was like, no. And I was like, don't do it.
Don't fucking do it.
And, I'm just like, I think listening to that instinct, that intuition of yours pays off so well.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's also like seasons. I think a pause or like a change kind of honors like a seasonal change in you. And Elizabeth Gilbert, who I really like, how she talks about creative stuff, but her talking about like, she's just like, my creative process like is very much in seasons. She's like, in one season I'm writing a book, in another season I am super not writing a book. And I was like, hell yeah.
That's nice. That's good validation, because one of my favorite books is called Daily Rituals. It's a book.
Oh,
yeah. Do you know that book?
No,
it's like
probably because
the whole book is like, everyone that's ever done anything great like makes time every day to like write at this time. So like I struggle. That's like counting the numbers and trying to set it up. So because I never feel like going to open mic ever. It's like,
really?
It's like I'm like 45. I'm tired.
Oh,
I mean, when I come back home, I like skip down the walkway like full of glee. Usually. So it's like, but getting there is so hard. So it's like I have to set the goals and the intention. Yeah. But then I think I've gone too far that way, where it's like started to become like a job or a schedule. So you need to dial it back and be like, this season of me is done. Yeah. Let's not do it for as much, and then see what like the new me has to say.
Oh yeah. It's going to be good. Yeah. If you want a book to kind of balance that out, because I'm sure I have heard it's called Daily Rituals. Mm-hmm. I'm sure I've heard of that. And like, a part of me is like, we can't do it. Like, I also stayed away from like Atomic Habits, when all my friends were reading it, like internet friends, because like my OCD and anxiety and just like people will just latch on. And I was like, I mean, rigid structure used to be my whole thing.
Yeah. That's what I built for myself over the last like decades.
Yeah.
And now I'm trying to like maybe swing the other way a little bit.
Yeah. With stand up, because I started a year and a half ago, but I've like been a writer for like 10 years. And I was like, but I crucified my creative process with writing. Like I burned out so hard. Like I went to this very hard to get into screenwriting school program at USC in LA. And like I did such good work, but like it came at such a cost. And I just like, by the end, I just like hated writing. And I was like so upset by that. And then the pandemic happened. And so then I started writing erotica just to like
go the other direction.
Yeah, just like short circuit my brain. I'm like, this is different. And I would use like substances at first to just like loosen it up. And that, so I think healed my writing process by just writing something totally different. And then I did come back to screenwriting because I was like, I really want to see if I can enjoy this again. And I wrote a script and actually enjoyed it. And I was like, whoa, that's possible, which is like why I started teaching it to other people. But then, when I started doing stand up, I was very goal driven at first. And then like, but it was just causing me so much anxiety. And then I started doing it every week, and that calmed the part of me that like really wanted to do it, but was scared I'd just like quit because it's still so scary. I mean, the first like 6 months, it's like, are we really doing it?
Did you do any like public, like theater or any kind of like up on stage talking to people
before stand up?
Yeah.
I have a YouTube vlog.
Yeah.
So
I checked. I did a little research.
Oh, that's so sweet.
You got like a decade of stuff on there.
I do.
Yeah.
My like, it's so cute now, especially because I want to get back into vlogging, and it's like just coming back in a very fresh season of like, hey guys, some things have changed, which is super fun. But yeah, I'm such a advocate for taking breaks because like it's like we shed something, I think, and maybe what you'll shed is just like the pressure, because I think that pressure on yourself, it's so exhausting. It's energetically costly.
It truly is. Yeah. And it's like I remember I went to school for music first time like 20 years ago, and I would like practice guitar like so hard every day, and I just felt like a fraud. Like everyone's so much better than me, and then I always remember like at the end of the semester, at the end of the year, like I would just put the guitar down and I would not play it for a few weeks. And then in the summer, I would like pick it up and just play whatever the fuck I wanted and just speak with it. And I would always play my best then, because it's like all that hard, rigid work like becomes like subconsciously like, what's the word? You like assimilate it in your DNA. And then, so I'm kind of looking for that with stand up. I've hit it like maybe a little too hard for the last 2 years. And now I need to like let that just kind of like dream about it, get away from it, and see if I can come back and feel like it's more me talking.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like you talking on stage. Do you enjoy it when it's on stage? Or
I do, and I mean,
because that comes through.
Yeah, I've like been getting more and more sober with like things like I got a job, so I can't. So that there's been a lot of like I've been feeling things like extra strong these last few weeks too.
Oh, because you've stopped like sober. I've
stopped. I quit drinking a couple years ago, and then
nice.
Other stuff like a few weeks ago. So
I'm also doing that. Like I'm like, I don't think I need it. And I like, it's frustrating to not have the like security blanket of like, I just need to numb out just a little bit.
Just switch it up. Like the work day's done.
Off. But it's like, you don't get to choose like that. Cause sometimes you want the intense. Yeah. Everything is so intense. It's existing.
I know. That's the thing is I think
so
I'm realizing I feel things really intensely, and I've had these like numbing strategies that are like coming off now. I love how we're just like hopping all over the place, but it still feels like there's a thread. But yeah, I mean, I love being on stage, like, and I think I need to, I don't know, I really tried to like be a different kind of stand-up for the last 6 months.
In what way?
Like instead of like writing jokes and saying them and getting them just right, I've been trying to be more like an improviser. Yeah. And I think that's been like, I don't know if I really, there are limits to what you can do. So I've kind of tried that so much, and I feel like I kind of was starting to get frustrated with it. So I need to like set it down and see if I can do that, or just be like, I'm not that kind of comedian. I actually am more of like a nerdy writer type. You know, I want to be like Rory Scovel, or I want to be somebody that can just be like, here's what happened today, and just kind of make it like in music, it's like jamming versus writing. Like I want to be able to just pull it out of thin air, but I don't know if I can. Yeah, but I've kind of worn myself out trying to be that way. And
trying to just like improvise.
Yeah, and I've had some really bad sets where like I'm like, I'm gonna just go out and improvise, and then it's like, oh, this is, I can't even get them back now. This is not, So there's been a lot of like confronting a lot of like,
the moment when you're like, I'm not getting them back.
Yeah, and then you're like, the person after you's like, thanks, man. Like,
I know.
The show is as bad now.
Yeah.
Which I stand by all those decisions, but it's like,
good,
ego death. It's like that Ryan. Yeah. Fuck that guy. He's worn me out. Throw him in the dumpster. Let's find a new one.
I think this is exciting for you. I think because you've been doing it for almost 10 years. Like stand up, it's in your bones, and I think like it'll probably become more fun after this break. Yeah. Because like. It's just like that trust fall when you're just like, you just trust your bones. Like, I think you're going to have you already like, it's fun when you're on stage. It already looks like you're having fun. It's fun for everyone else. I think you're going to have even like more fun.
Hell yeah.
I'm really excited for you. That's like, also like, I just like respect the hell out of like the intentionality of what you've done, because like, sorry, I love talking about creative process.
This is great. I just realized this is the most I think we've talked about me on any episode already.
Love this.
I'm like, wow.
I freaking love the other parent stand-ups.
Oh yeah, there's not a lot of us.
No, it's like
not a lot of us.
Me, you, Blaine, Carrie, who else? Corey. I know, but it's like we're also dang busy because parenting.
Right.
If you're doing it right,
we're not just hanging out all day.
No,
like if we're at a thing, that's like we had to schedule that shit. Like.
You're like, it feels so intimate to be like, we made time.
Yeah.
So I'm like, no, I was like, oh, hell yeah. No, I'm honored to be on this. And I love talking about my creative process, but I get so excited for people. And also
same.
I'm really excited for you because like what you've done, like the trying different writing. I think what breaks do is like all the stuff you don't need, like it's like sediment in water. Like if you stop moving the water, all the stuff you don't actually need just like sinks, and then what you're left with is this like fluid, just easeful. My favorite meditation teacher, his name is George Mumford, but his thing he talks about all the time, he's like flow like water. I love talking about him because I feel like everyone, if they know what he does, everyone will think he's cool, because he was the meditation teacher for the Bulls when Michael Jordan was.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, and him and the coach were really good friends.
I've heard of them.
Right? Yeah. Is being, I mean like, and I mean what I talk about on stage so much is like coming out. I mean that's all I talk about right now, is that I recently realized I'm gay.
Yeah.
And
yeah, it's exciting to have it be like, you're experiencing that and you're processing it on stage in real time. It's like I can feel there's a lot when you're up there. There's like a lot of energy. It's like that's like it doesn't feel. It's obvious that you haven't just been going around saying that in rooms for a year. Right? You can feel that it's like right now.
It's
which
like
is cool.
This happened today.
Yeah.
Like I mean, I truly because like a year ago I realized I was queer. 4 months ago I realized I was gay. Like it was like. My body just was it's amazing. There's so much information in the body, as my like favorite massage therapist says, and like it's like, so when you need a rest or a break, it's like listen to that. There's so many rewards if you just listen to your body. Body is just like, that's all I needed, and then it's just all these gifts come out, and like I think when I started kind of similarly doing more improvising stuff, there was something like that loosen, or just like it, like, I mean, stand-up, I don't know that I could have come out as gay without stand-up comedy. Yeah. Because like
finding your voice, finding out more who you are.
And this like more masculine, like aggressive voice. Yeah. Like
holding the mic, like, my voice, motherfuckers.
It's a very dominant, it's a very dominant thing that like I was socialized to be like very feminine and very like helper. Yeah. Yeah. But I'm like, but I had so much anger built up because it's like, that's not who I really am. And then, I mean, legitimately, what sparks joy for me with stand up, like when I am writing something, I write very fluidly. Like if I'm writing something down, it's just like a thought, and I have my purse journal that fits in my journal, and I just like write something down. Like I just wrote down this like squirrel suicide joke, like squirrels always trying to commit suicide.
It's true.
Yeah, I always feel like I'm trying to talk them out of committing suicide. So I wrote that down. I was like, this is so funny. And but actually I was like, oh, maybe this is when I bridge into like not only talking about my gayness and like my healing journey, and then it totally turned into that too.
That's what I love about it, that the squirrel can still be about you being gay somewhere. That like the idea of like, well, this is a little funny thought, but then if you keep going, it broadens out and it actually is about you. Like everything is about everything is personal if you keep going with it,
right? And that's like it's good shit. And like I love stand-up so much.
It's the best,
right?
I mean, it is like, and that's part of the reason it's like, I actually do have some shows booked, so I won't be I'll be still doing like a weekly show for the next couple months, but it's like thinking about removing it, it's the coolest thing I do. You know, it's like when you take stand-up out of it, it's like career dad, you know, like middle-aged. I mean, it's like, you know, and then you're like, well, what else do you do? And I'm like, I do stand up. People are like, what? You know,
my God.
You even have to be careful because I'm not trying to have people at work be like, get up and tell some jokes on the Zoom call. But
God, I hate it when they do that.
And then just like the people, you know, like I started because I was like, I want me up there getting more attention. But now I'm like, I know all these people, different ages, different genders. So that I think it's keeping me, regardless of whether anything like happens with it, it's keeping me from becoming like a rigid old man who's stuck in ways of thinking, just being part of that community and hearing, like going to the odd and hearing like people's perspectives every week. It's like,
you're very cool as a dad. You will, it makes you very, it's
nice. It's a low bar. So I'm like, I'm crushing it. Like,
I love that.
I'm not just like talking about IPAs all the time or whatever the bar is.
Ryan, this is like so cathartic, everything you just said. Yeah. Because like, well, first of all, I just love what you said about like, it's like stand-up is the coolest thing about me. It's such a mic drop. It's such a flex. Like when you bring that up in casual conversation, and like, I love that moment where it's like, I'm like, yeah, like I do stand-up comedy, and I always like throw it away. But then a part of me is just like waiting. And like, I'm talking about, and they're like, oh, you do. They're like, it's so funny. People think it's really cool.
Every compliment about stand-up quickly leads to like, I've been thinking about doing it.
I know.
Like 100% of the time.
I know.
Sometimes it's real quick. It's like, and then we ended up spending more time talking about how you want to do it. I fucking do it. Let's spend a little time on me.
Yeah, I definitely, So I shouldn't have called them gay girls. They're queer girls, but my kind of problematic gay part that's like now very suspicious of straight people. I'm like, because I was straight for 35 years and I was like, are you really straight? But those gay girls, they're queer women, but I'm like, I think you might be more gay than you think. If you really like what I'm doing and you're like, I'm like, I think you might be more. Anyway, so that was that. But wait, what was the last thing you just said? I wanted to.
People talking about you and then quickly making it about them?
Wait,
like,
yes. I can tell stand-up's like changing my personality or just I'm becoming more of who I am on stage, off stage, because this
like more assertive or it's helped me a lot. Like it's like a boring ass meeting at work, like speaking up and trying to like get to the point quickly and not be afraid. Stand up has really helped me not be a meek. Like I was raised to be like super meek, not on purpose, but just kind of like, oh, thank you for the job. I don't need, you know.
I have no needs. Zero
I grew up in
needs.
Tennessee, so it's like, they're super repressed kind of thing. So I think, stand up really can help you like strengthen your voice. And become a stronger person.
There was like, because this guy came up and like, you know, it's like, as a parent, like I'm at an open mic, I'm hanging out after to talk to these like two women comics. And I'm like making the choice to stay 20 minutes to talk to them, which is like costing me money because of paying for a babysitter, childcare. And this dude comes up, and I'm like loving this conversation. And this dude comes up and he like, you know, compliments my stand-up, wants to ask about it. And then it quickly becomes like he wants to do stand-up. And I'm like, give my encouraging line, but he doesn't go away. And I just go like, at some point I just say like, I mean, to be honest, it's not a super high priority for me to convince straight white men to do comedy.
No, we need less for sure. Like,
this
is a lot of us.
I mean, then he was like, how do you know I'm straight? I was like, oh, cool. But I was like, no, you should do stand-up. But I was like, and I'm getting back to my life, my conversation, like what I'm, because it just causes resentment. If you don't have boundaries, you get resentful. And yeah, stand up is such a like, it's just so cool when it's your time. It's just your time. And like, I love it so much. I have such a storytelling style. I really want to book more shows. I saw your thing where you've like booked all these shows. Because I need more time to work out my stuff.
No, yeah.
And I want to
stretch your legs like 4 minutes. You just get into it. The light comes on. It's like, yeah, where are the places you can go long?
Oh God, I know. Yeah. And I always feel like such an asshole because I'm always like
running the light
just a little bit. And I'm like, I feel terrible, but I'm just like, I mean, I don't know. I let the Wednesday night mic that. They're really sweet about it. I think they're like, she's going through it. It's like, we'll let her finish.
I mean, you're
joke.
Appreciated there. So it's worse if you're like, we didn't even want this person on the show. Now they're going long. There's plenty of that too.
Yeah, I'm like, I try to be like, you're not doing that. But yeah, what you said earlier about like the community of stand up.
Yeah.
Having like, because I don't know, I haven't yet found my like people in the parenting community world. Like I found some, but it's hard.
Yeah.
But with stand up, it's like, I feel like I've just found this awesome, like, God, it's so fun. It's also hilarious because I think trying to become friends with stand-ups, what I tell people is like, it's like trying to befriend an abused cat where it's just like, they're very skittish at first. But then, like, you know, you just keep going. And then it's just so sweet the way we warm up to each other. And, like, you know, it's like the main time we hang out is, like, after at a bar. Honestly, I think that's why I, like, didn't stop drinking earlier. But now I'm at the place where I'm comfortable enough. I'll just, like, order a non-alcoholic beer. And I'm like, oh, no, I'm really just here for the community.
Yeah.
And it's so fun. And, yeah, do you find time to hang out with other stand-ups, or is it?
I mean, I'll just be there before the show a little bit, and that's it. I never go out. I mean, I kind of like that I have like kids and a job, and I'm not like, I mean, I don't drink now, so it's like I'm definitely not going to the vault to like hang out. But I'm glad that it happens. So for me, it's like sitting at the tables outside the Odd before, and really just kind of being there for the show. I kind of still have never really learned how to like. I like this podcast because I really like talking one-on-one, but I still have never really learned to like walk up to a group of 10 people and break into circles of 5 people. And I just like, I don't know. I'm like middle-aged now. I'm like, I just don't think that's really my thing, but it's nice. It took me a while to get like a year to like really make friends in the stand-up scene, but I like that I can just sort of just sit there and be in it and not feel like I do need to say anything.
Yeah.
Or, you know, just so many people are just so charismatic and funny too that it's like just being in the room is nice. And then this has been like a cool kind of sneaky way to get like more one-on-one conversations with people, which is what I prefer.
Yeah. I was very excited when you asked me because I was like, oh, this is cool. It's such a fun way to get to know the other stand-ups. And like, I also love one-on-one. And I love talking about creative process.
Yeah, that's the creative process is like my thing. That's like I've read on it, I've written on it. Like that's kind of why I need to like roll back this like hit the reps. It's all about the reps. You know, it's all about the strategy and the time management. And having kids made me really get like, all right. So on Sunday night, I'm like, all right, Emily, here's the 3 nights I'm going to go out, and it's been great. But now I'm like, all right, you know, I'm old enough to know like. Health decline and death are like not that far off, you know. I mean, I can see it coming. Like
the wisdom of like.
So I need to like just this is it. Like there is no next. I don't even want to be like I've traveled enough for stand up to know I don't want to be like traveling any more than I already am. It's exhausting. Yeah, I want to like be around my kids. And
and like you've made it. Like you have your family,
I'm living the dream.
Right? It's like
there is no other thing. Like it. Yeah, your body hurts more and you die. Like you might even lose your mind. Seriously, it's like this is. Like this is the golden era for it. Yeah. So just enjoy it.
Yeah. I'm really in a place where I'm just trying to enjoy like the little moments. I do find that like I have to find that balance of like doing stand-up enough that like my kind of feral whatever part of me that like needs that to heal, needs that time and space where I'm the one controlling a room. And also just like noticing the silver lining of my like trauma responses of like I became really funny or like that's cool.
Did you feel like before stand up you felt you were funny?
I was funny, but I didn't feel like it, and I hate that. And I hate that nobody told me I was funny. But actually, no, this one woman did. This woman who owned an Airbnb. It was actually very sad. I was there for a funeral, but I stayed at this Airbnb. And so it was just like a new person. And this was very close to when I was about to do stand. I was like 3 weeks away from doing stand up.
You started in Asheville, right?
Yeah, okay, yeah. And she and I told her how like my partner at the time was a comedian, improviser though, different kind. And she like introduced me to her partner, and she was like, Linda's like with a comedian, and she is also a comedian, and that was so cool.
Wow,
of
like
her
you didn't
to
even
say
that. That was just
no. But I mean,
she just recognized you were funny, and
you know when you meet someone, you're like, oh, they like my vibe, like with the way I tell the story. So we were just like hitting it off. We probably chatted for like 45 minutes, and it's like, she hasn't heard any of my stories, so I'm just like telling her funny stories and stuff. And she just like, I was just making her laugh, and like when I figure out that like someone I can make them laugh, I'm like, oh, I'll talk to you like all day. Like this is so validating. But yeah, I hate that I didn't think I was funny. I tell my 4-year-old all the time, I'm like, you're so funny. All the things I wished I'd been told. But I wish women have not been told that they're funny.
Totally. It's like you should be laughing at the man, and like,
oh yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, but I wanted to say before I forget, I think I can't remember. Oh, but we were talking about like daily rituals or some books like that, like Atomic Habits. But if you want to kind of balance that out, I really recommend Elizabeth Gilbert's book called Big Magic. Have you heard of that?
No.
So that is like, she's like very fluid about her process, and as she's like grown older, she's just become like more and more fluid, and like she's really actually, I think, who I modeled my process off of. Well, that and like I became obsessed with Marie Kondo's book, like The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up.
I noticed you said Spark Joy earlier. We were like big on that. Me and Emily are like aligned with like, get it the fuck out of here. Like, let's space. We don't want stuff. We want space.
And it's such a love language to yourself to only keep your favorite things around you and only do your favorite things, like activity wise, and just spend time with your favorite people. Like that is living.
Yeah, I mean, I've gotten rid of things like dream. All my vinyl and like some guitars and stuff that I like. I miss, but I'm like, I like missing them. Like I like that I don't need to have everything.
Yeah.
Even the things that I got rid of that I still want sometimes, I'm like, that's good. It's good to like, not just have so much shit everywhere.
Right. Yeah. And like, I remember becoming obsessed with Marie Kondo's book during the pandemic, and like I was
got obsessed with that too, and we still like it's like we fully integrated it into we do like the little boxes in the drawers and everything. Like,
it's fun. Oh yeah. Oh,
and then we've got kids that want to like, one kid that wants to like, keep all the everything. So that's the real challenge, is trying to teach that, but then also not force it on them.
Yeah, right. I know it's such a balance.
Not because I said so, but because you come to it on your own.
And they will. Maybe not for 2 decades. But I just became obsessed with the idea of like applying the like only keep what sparks any creative process I had. Like, well, this is how I changed my relationship with like screenwriting and novel writing when I started writing like just what is it called, steamy romance. I was like I just realized how obsessed I am with romance, and that like I just love romance. I only want to write romance stories.
Okay.
And
you mean writing romance, not necessarily like having romance.
No, I mean, I'd like to have that too, but like writing romance is like, it is so delightful for me, and like I'm just am a romantic, and my dad is too. I mean, both of my parents only watched romantic comedies, and like my dad's favorite movie for a while, he like won't. When I ask him his favorite movie now, he doesn't say this, and I don't know that he remembers saying, but I swear to God, I was like, and like when I was in college, I was like, what's your favorite movie? He goes, Princess Diaries 2. And I was like, that's the cutest thing I've ever heard. But I
don't know it, but
it's Princess Diaries.
It sounds romantic.
I mean, the sequel, it's not as good as the first one, but it's just, but I love romance, and just basically I was like, I'm going to only write like what feels like a guilty pleasure. Yeah. And I think I do that on stage, where I'm just like, I do try to find that balance, because I want to book shows, and you kind of have to be consistent, and you kind of have to work your jokes a little bit in order to like be, I don't know. It's like they have to see you. I don't know. What do you think? How do you book shows? Do you think it being...
I love what you said about like, I never thought about extending the condo thing to like process.
Yes,
so that's
yes,
really
yes.
cool. But as far as the shows,
if you read the book again with that in mind, it's like really
it doesn't
fun.
have to be like touchable stuff. It can be like, it can be ideas and processes. So that's really cool.
It's such a short book. And like, I mean, that's where I'm like, because I used to be very like regimented about like writing and, you know, sitting down and writing, but I don't do that anymore. And I just flow. And like, honestly, I noticed it's like I noticed my stand-up process is often I'll be like really upset about something or processing and then cry and then journal about it. And then this little voice in my head will say something so like irreverent about what's happening. And it makes me laugh. And it's so like cathartic and healing. And I'll just like write it down. And I'm like, I shouldn't do that on stage, which pretty much guarantees that I will do it on stage.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of depends on what you want. Like, I mean, I think even since I started like moving towards vulnerability and like blurring stand up more into like The Moth or something like that, where it's like, you know, I'm kind of trying to move more in that direction versus like set up punch, you know, because I really like a lot of like
you're so good at it though.
There's like short jokes, but I almost,
this last set I was like going shortly after you, so I wasn't watching you, but I was listening as I kind of like wrote down the order of what I was doing. And because that's part of my process, the 45 minutes before I go up, that's the only time I'm actually like writing on purpose. Great. It just works.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's about to happen. So
it's my ADHD.
You do it yesterday, and then you're a different person today.
Oh,
so
yeah.
it's like,
I don't know.
I don't even want to say any of this shit today.
Yeah, but like, yeah, exactly. But you know, I knew I was going to do this podcast, and I heard you, and I just like but it was fun to listen to you, but not be watching, because like whenever you do that. Like I used to tell my screenwriting students, like if you want to learn about cinematography, like watch a movie without the sound on, because the visual choices of whatever's happening become so apparent to you.
Yeah.
And the same with like if you want to learn about like movie scores and sound, like listen to it but don't watch it.
Yeah.
And so like when I was listening to you but not watching, I was just like, holy shit, Ryan. Just like it was like laughs.
Last week at the music hall, is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. I like finally got a good spot there. I always go up second because it's like I'm there. I was actually bitching about that on my
you shouldn't
Ego
have to
Death
go
podcast,
second.
which I kind of feel guilty about.
No,
but sometimes it's like I'm the agreeable dad, so I'm like sure, and then it's like man,
no.
So it was nice to get thrown into like a warm spot, and then I was like I'm tired of working on it. I'm just gonna do some, and I was like I needed to have a good set, and I was like
right.
And then the next night I went to a brewery in Charlotte and had like, I mean, it was just an impossible, horrible. So I was like, man, I wish I just had a week to like coast on that. I immediately had like the worst set the next night.
Yeah.
But I mean, I love that topic of like, I think it depends on like my sense of you is you really want to do like authentically you, like, you know, vulnerable stuff. I think like, I was talking with Cody about that on here. Like, there's this other end of it where it's like the first thing you should do if you want to get booked is like get like 20 minutes and like cleanish if you can, because then you can work anywhere. And then once you have that and you can just press play on it and you can get booked and you can do the videos, then you start expanding the genre and getting into these hard, difficult things. And that's kind of how I've come about it, like trying to just like do jokes. But then it's changing so much, and like alt is just becoming the mainstream, and seeing like younger performers get up and just be vulnerable and be crazy. Sometimes I think maybe I should have done it that way. And if I'd started with raw, vulnerable, you still end up with like the jokes. So it's kind of like which end do you start at? In the end, you kind of just want great jokes that are authentically you and vulnerable. So it's like where do you want to start from, you know?
Right. Like, it's like, I mean, and I used to come in too hard too fast with the vulnerability. So it's definitely art of like warming them up.
You're definitely like, I noticed that about you. You're definitely like, it's the real shit, you know?
Oh,
which I think is great. I mean, you're like someone that makes me go, I need to like probably dig a little more into like,
I mean,
saying things I'm terrified for the people would know, you know, instead of just being like, kids can be annoying or, you know, whatever. It's like, ugh, I mean, haven't heard a dad say that before, you know? Like, so there's, the grass is greener maybe with that.
Yeah. I remember you talked about, well, I don't, it's funny because I'm like, it's so funny because I've come out to people every week for months now, but I haven't come out to some members of my family. And
that makes sense.
Right?
Start with strangers.
Oh, 100%. I'm like,
punch it up so it's hilarious. So when you tell your family, they're like rolling on the floor. Craft the words on the
right? I know. I'm like, oh God.
You're drafting it.
I did. Oh God. I went to LA. And I did a stand-up in LA for the first time, which was really fun because I lived there for almost 10 years. And that was really cool. Found a like, I knew I needed a queer mic because like, you know, I'm still like, I'm improving a lot, but I feel like when I look at my stuff, it's like, you can tell I'm in my first like couple of years, but, so I love these like new experiences that stretch me. And so I wanted a queer mic because just like when it's a queer crowd, they just like eat up my vulnerability stuff. And that was super fun and good. And I forgot where I was going with this, but
I like that though, the queer mic. So I was talking with Julia about that recently. We were doing a brewery gig and she was like, man, I have to explain like what it is before I can even get, I love like to go to Atlanta and they're just like, bam, get straight to it. And I was like, yeah, but it still seems cool to like some of these people here, you know, they might have never even heard that before, and they might have somebody in their family later that like transitions and then they're kind of like ready for it. I mean, I just am totally like, I can't relate to it at all, like what it would be like to be like, you know, I want to do a room for my people because I'm like a cis white male, so it's like everything is like, you know, I'm like the basic flavor, so it's
I love when you get personal, like that joke you have about, is it okay if I talk about it?
Yeah,
okay,
yeah, of
I'm
course.
like but like when you talked about, well, so because I've talked about like weed and parenting, like using weed to kind of help enjoy, be more playful and childlike, and you mentioned that once on stage, and I was like, hell yeah, like that's super fun. And then what was it? I just remembered. I remember. It's gonna come back to me, but
it'll come back.
And then it bothers me, and then I try to find it.
It's like queer rooms, vulnerability. Whether you have to explain like what you are to people, or you're just getting to like the nuance of it because they are like already in that culture. I find with straight audiences, I'm actually really proud of myself with how I've worked out like a kind of it feels like a long joke. It only takes like a minute, I think, but it's like I've gotten a good joke in where it's like I'm talking about just like funny mom parenting thing, and it turns into like, how gay are we as an audience? Yeah. Like on this, like it flips it, but I've like already made them laugh. So they're like, oh fuck. Like I'm already, it's like, I feel like me making straight audiences laugh. It's kind of like that thing you hear about like frogs where it's like you put them in warm water and they're like, and they don't notice when it gets to boiling, and they will just stay in there until they die. I'm not trying to murder straight audience, but it's like the metaphor of like, you have to make them not realize what they're getting into. Totally.
But it's such a like, it's such a seduction. Oh, God, I've never used that word with stand-up. Yeah. But it is that.
It's like, I try to like start clean and build to dirty for set, especially if it's like older, more conservative. It's like, hey, I'm a dad and blah, blah, blah. And then you might get to like riskier stuff later because they've kind of slowly trusted you. Yeah. You're not just coming right out of the gate with like, drugs, whatever the, you know.
Right. You have to kind of earn it. And like, Oh, I remembered. I love when you talk about like, I don't want a woman in her 20s. Like I like that. Well, that really, because as someone who's newly like dating women, and I'm like, I have no idea what my type is, or like, it's just, but I'm like these 20, you know, because it's like, I'm 35. So like, I have dated women who are in their 20s, or like, you know, dated, it's like, it's also new, like been on some dates with, but it's like what you said, it just resonates, where it's like, they're fresh. They're just too clean and fresh
it's
out of the box.
Like, like it's weird. Yeah.
They're like, it's like a house with, you know, that doesn't have any character to it yet. No one's lived in it yet. It's just like a factory.
It's not even a person yet. It's like, what? Yeah. Thank you. That's like in this last run of things I've worn myself out. That's like one of two things that I think I've really got that I can keep going. Cause I like really feel that way. I feel like I think my wife and I are both like 45. Yeah. I think she's like hotter to me now than she's ever been. And it's like, no one says that. It's like the opposite of just the culture's like, of course, everybody wants like an 18-year-old. It's like, oh, that's just weird.
I really like your point of view. And I feel like that joke is like such your point of view, and also just needed. Like I'm such a fan of stand-up that's needed. Like Hannah Gadsby is probably my favorite stand-up comic, and like you can tell she just talks about, she's like, I feel like we need to talk about this.
These are the things that everyone's saying the opposite, so I'm gonna say it this way.
But I really like that, because I'm like, it's so true. And also so many people don't have examples of healthy long-term romantic love, and it's like, sure, I imagine life is boring and stuff, but it's like when you find some, like I realize I'm quite jaded about long-term love, and like because my own long-term relationship didn't last the way many parts of me really wanted it to. Yeah. And so when I hear that joke, it's just like, it helps people. It helps me. It gives me hope. I'm like, it's going to be okay. There's like, there are people you're going to be really compatible with that, like, you know, you can build a life with someone else. That's really cool.
Yeah, thanks. It's like there's another part you reminded me I need to like bring it back. It's like the idea of like even trying to like fuck somebody. It's like in their 20s. It's like you have like old people shit like in by your bed. You have like the mouth guard and all the like. It's like I don't want to. You have to slowly reveal how disgusting you are to like some young person. They're like finding out that you're old and gross. It's like It's better to like start young and hot and then get slowly old and gross together, like the frog in the water, where you just realize you both have like CPAPs on, you know, but it happens so slowly that you don't have to like slowly reveal to this hot young person that you're like a disgusting old man. It's like that's just you have to hide that, you know. Like, I see that sometimes people will date somebody younger and they have to like hide their like medical appointments and shit. It's like they're gonna find out you're old and gross.
I know
you're living a lie.
Yeah, now I know, because like like when I came out as a lesbian, I quickly realized like, oh, it's like I can very easily date women who are 10 years younger than me.
Well, you're kind of 35 is like a good spread. You can go like 10 above, 10 below. You kind of got the whole like, you got the whole, it's a nice place.
It is a nice place. I'm honestly like, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's so sweet, but I've been definitely like overwhelmed by the amount of like lesbian attention of like, we're just like realizing I'm friends with, or like want to be, and like quickly I'm like, oh, they have a crush on me, and I'm like, this is so flattering and totally overwhelming, because I mean, well, what I was gonna say was like,
sounds horrible having everybody want to date you. Yeah.
I know, I'm like, no one's gonna care or sympathize about this, but like
sounds horrible.
Sounds horrible, right? Oh, this is what the songs are about.
Yeah.
This is what people are
and they're beautiful songs. You know, that's part of it too. Like,
that's true.
The beauty in the like the long term, the suffering's like.
I did write a
you
fire
want
joke
some
about
of that. On your deathbed, you want to be like, oh, I was like fucked up and hurt. That's good, you know?
Yeah, it is good shit.
Arguably just as, like the songs are more but you know?
Oh, I know. I did write a joke I was really proud of about it. but
getting like your heart broken?
Yeah. Well, yeah. The joke.
You don't have
no one's gonna like me if I say this, but she basically gave me feedback that I was just better than anyone, like any dude she'd ever been with. And I was like, I'm never gonna. You've created a monster. And like, but actually, that was
again, the bar is probably real low.
Yeah, it is. I mean,
you know, it takes a long time to realize that you're bad in bed. You know, it's like I don't think I realized till like 5 years ago. I'm like, you know, so. Yeah. But it's like, but that joke I kind of like, and actually that was one of the last times I drank. I just was like, I'm doing a shot of tequila, because I was like, the only way to pull this joke off is to be really cocky. And I was like, I want to do the joke because it's like, I've got that itch where it's just like, it'll be so fun and makes you feel so alive when you're like, oh, fuck it, let's just do it. But that's interesting that like the arrogance is kind of like you're like feels like maybe you're a little conflicted about it, like you want to do that, but then you feel like people might be like off by it, which I think is good. If 20% of the crowd's like upset, like, you know, that can almost make it more exciting. 80-20, like I love some upsetting. Of the people are like mad, and then the person next to them's like loving it. Like, that's a really fun room to be in. It was almost better than if everybody's like into it, you know. You want a little conflict.
It's spicier. And it's definitely I love
like a sporting event where it's like two sides.
It's such a game, and it's like reading the audience of like where it's like, because you want it to be only 25% that doesn't like you, but if you get that balance, it's such a sweet spot. But what I realized happened after that was I kind of stayed cocky on stage, or I realized like, oh, if I like allow myself to be this more kind of just like unapologetic version of myself, I get to the funny part of my jokes faster.
Yeah.
And also like what I'm saying is clearer because I'm just like you just say it. And like,
I think you're supposed to be like cocky on stage. I
You
mean,
are.
that's like, I don't know that I like when I am, I think those are my best sets. Like, I think that was last week. I had a great set and I like roasted James right out of the gate. I was like mean to him and I was just
love
like,
it.
I've been going up early. Fuck this mic, you know? And there's like, it really helped to have that. Like, I think it has to be, it's rare that just being like, hey, sorry, here's my jokes. Like, it's kind of rare that works. It's like that sort of irony. You know, people want like the ego. You want to like they see themselves in it. Like we all want to be bold and to see that. I mean, off stage it's maybe trickier, but I mean on stage, I think you should absolutely just be transform into the fucking egomaniac. I mean, off stage. I mean, that's the tricky part.
Yeah, that is the tricky part.
Why didn't I get on this show that everybody else has been on? There's just so much like rejection and that.
I know.
So the ego off stage is like, will destroy you. But I think on stage.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. On stage, it's, But
then it's like flipping it off. Like after you have a good set and you're like, cocky for like the rest of the night, it can be a hard transition. Like, I think that's part of like being like a big time comedian is like, getting thousands of people to laugh and the ego, and then you're like back in a hotel room alone, or that's why you start doing like a lot of drugs, or you kill yourself or whatever. It's because that transition can be so tough because you can't really be that huge ego just walking around in the world
because you can't. Yeah,
especially if you have kids and like all these crushing responsibilities where you have to empathize and
it's like if
think
you
about other people's feelings.
Oh yeah, kids. Oh my God, kids. Honestly, I think being a parent has probably helped my stand-up because I've only ever done stand-up as a parent. And how old are your kids? Is that
12 and 8.
Okay, so you started stand-up after becoming a parent.
Yeah, like right before right before the second one was born. Yeah,
it's like because it's just chaos, and every day there's just paradoxes. I mean, like I have a 4-year-old. I was watching my 4-year-old play with another 4-year-old. It was adorable, and I was watching them, but I was like I was just like, they're psychopaths. Like they're so unapologetic. So honestly, like the more I parent my 4-year-old, I'm just trying to match his vibe and do his thing because like they're the ones crushing it and they're just having a great time. And I'm like, if I bring that energy on stage, like it's gonna crush. And it's like, but for life, I try to parent less and just like be with them more or be with my kid more. But but here's the ego, like it's like it's like I think like if I were to ever teach a class about stand-up or do a TED Talk, I like the idea of starting with like, what is your relationship with stand-up going to be? Because if you treat it like a drug, it will never stop being a drug, and like you can become addicted to it.
I never actually asked myself that question. That's interesting.
And like, so the stand-ups, because like I know what you mean, like stand-ups who, and even like, I mean, even the sober ones, it's like,
it's the only drug I got left.
Yeah.
Public speaking's the only
but it's like
drug I have now.
right. Yeah, no, me too. Yeah, I know, right? Like I'm just like, I don't even drink coffee anymore.
Yeah. Oh, well, I still got caffeine.
I mean, I would if I could. My digest is just like, we're too sensitive. I'm like, damn it. Come on. I love coffee. But it's like, I mean, well, there's this one stand-up that I kind of have my eye on just because like I relate to her a lot, and I'm just like, I mean, I'm such a problem gay now. I'm like, I think you're gay. Like, I'm just like, conspiracy theory. I think everyone's maybe a little bit gay. I think everyone's
for sure
it's all fluid, you know?
Anyway, I grew up in a culture and a time. I'm not sure you probably did too. Or maybe you did, where it's like you weren't really like encouraged to explore that. So
no, But she like, because she's sober, she does all this like crush it, has huge numbers of like just arena kind of comedian. And then I've heard her off stage. I can tell she's still trying to figure out how to enjoy stand-up, and I find that so fascinating because she's such a like, I'm like, you're incredible. Yeah. And it's like, but if you can't enjoy it, what's it for? Yeah. And like, so.
Yes, that's exactly where I'm at, like right at the end, this part of this year. Like, am I enjoying this? Am I just like trying
to. I think the other thing that has really helped me keep my relationship with stand-up, because I wanted it to be what my relationship with writing became, like very intentionally, where I was like, no, this is like, if it only sparks joy. If it doesn't spark joy, I don't do it. And like giving up that, basically like giving up the discipline of writing as a discipline was wild. And like, I do recommend it because it is so uncomfortable at first, but you realize you don't need it. You don't need that many hours. You can, like, your best stuff will just float to the surface, and you'll like it so much you won't want to forget it, and you'll just like write it down anywhere. Usually I write like on my phone, or that's why I keep a little like journal in my bag all the time.
Yeah.
Just because like I like writing down stuff in person.
So when you get up on stage, you kind of just like, let's see, what did you haven't necessarily written it all out the way you're going to say it. You're just kind of going, here are the ideas. And now that I'm on the stage, I'm going to try to.
Yeah, actually, I want to move more towards that. I think my next steps because you don't bring a notebook on stage.
Sometimes I'll do like bullets on a note card.
Okay.
But I try not to look at that. I try to just have it in my pocket.
Yeah, I realized that if I have it, I think I will look at it. And so I think what I'm going to move towards next, or kind of make my next goal, is like just going without the notebook, which will be, because it was a big deal when the first time I did stand up without having a beer beforehand, and then, or any kind of alcohol.
So much better, let it be the drug. Don't dull public speaking's fucking crazy.
Yeah. But you like, it hits. It's funny that, wait, are you calling stand up public speaking?
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Isn't that weird? Because I don't
think you're giving yourself enough credit.
10 years ago, I joined
cooler.
a Toastmasters club, and I started doing public speaking for a year before. I was so scared to do public, just to talk in front of people.
10
like
years
10. So,
dang.
And I was doing funny stories. I've kind of been doing this like 10 years, but then 9, I like went to stand up.
Yeah.
And I was part of a very supportive group of like elderly folks doing Toastmasters. So I was like a little more confident than I should have been. And then stand up would just like kick my ass for.
Stand up does kick your ass. But like, yeah. What we do is really cool.
It's public speaking. I mean, I think it can like. Do you ever like feel like you're getting sick and then you go do some like a stand up set and you're cured? Like this is like magical alchemy that happens. Yes. I'm like tired and like getting sick, and then I'm just like, that was a good set. Now that's gone.
Yeah.
I swear that happens to me.
Oh yeah, it's like for me, like, because I start to feel sick if my authentic self hasn't been seen by a certain number of people. I think that's how I'm healing from how many decades I was closeted. I mean, first just like closeted to myself. That's the worst kind, is when you just like, there's just this ache and it's very dark and you just like, it's impossible to be really close to people. It's so scary to trust people because like you just have this shame that's deeply in you, and yet like you can't live without it because it controls everything that makes you feel safe. And it just like, so doing stand up, it's like in OCD, it's called exposure response therapy, where you just do the damn thing and you just accept that like your whole body's going to be like, I'm going to die. You can't do this. And like your brain will say all these terrible things, and you do it and you don't die. Yeah. And if you just keep doing it with enough regularity, which is why I do stand up like once a week at the least. And honestly, like I don't really do it. Maybe I want to start doing it twice a week just because I want more time to work out material. But yeah, that like, it keeps my OCD in check. I'm like, you're not in danger. You're just uncomfortable. And it is just so valid. Like my gay girl is what I call my like, and like she's like a character in my sets, and I want to kind of let her be even more of that, where I'm just like, I'm doing things for her because like she didn't have an adolescence.
The gay girl, you're saying like kind of like the persona, the person that's
like an inner child, but an inner teen kind of, because like, it's like,
that's when you would have.
Yeah,
like,
that's when I.
Did you? Yeah. Were you like in a real religious family where that was like gay is bad? Like,
I wasn't in a religious family, but I was in a very religious community, and like,
you grew up in Alaska, right? I think I saw that on YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah, Alaska. Okay. So
it's maybe more like conservative.
Yeah, definitely.
Not a lot of like big cities with liberal gay shit going on all the time.
No, yeah, you're just like, there's nothing for hours of driving, and then there's your little city in Fairbanks, Alaska. Yeah, and honestly, it's so damn cold that like church is a great place for socialization, and like, so yeah, it became a place like where I hung out with other teenagers who weren't scary, like youth group Wednesday night, and like this, I had a best friend growing up who, in hindsight, I think I was a little in love with her because like. It's just, so Cloud. Yeah. Cloud and I have like become close. Like Cloud was one of the first people I came out to. And when I came out to Cloud like a year ago, he said something so validating. I said something and he was like, dude, you're so gay. And I was like, Cloud, thank you. Like Cloud just like came in and was like, you need to talk about this, and I'm gonna be a safe space for you if you want. And we talked for like an hour, and like so we continued.
Awesome.
Yeah,
so community minded.
Oh God, just like the biggest heart. And I realized like Cloud is so much like that friend who got me in, who I was like a little bit in love with. That friend who I just was so enamored by and loved, like, you know, how loving they were, but their way of doing it was like Baptist church. And so that's how I got into it. But like when I met Cloud, I was like, God, I feel like this person was like gifted to be, you know, in my community because like I needed it. And like, I mean, I've told Cloud this, and Cloud was like, I feel the same way about you. And it's, I mean, yeah, again, it comes back to just like how healing stand up, how if you want to do, I mean, it's like to anyone listening to this who's like, I want to do stand up, but I'm so damn scared and I feel like I'll die if I do it. That's true. You will feel, but it'll get better every time you do it because the exposure response therapy works. But also like the connection you get from it is incredible, and you can connect with people so much more quickly. Yeah. Because you're like...
Yeah, the audience is like, get to the fucking point. We're not going to listen to you set this up for forever. So you just kind of learn to get to it.
You get to it, yeah. And then like... And just the bonding of like, you're on such the same team with the other stand-ups. Like... Yeah. I mean, sometimes... I think at first I was like a little competitive or something. And then... But then I started befriending people, and I was like, oh, this is way better than like trying to see it as some kind of... I don't know, competition.
Yeah, that's always a struggle. I mean, some competition's good. It's like you don't want to like not ever get on any shows, but you want your scene to be strong. You want there to be like new comics that murder, and you're like, fuck, I gotta.
Oh God, I
might bomb after that, you know. And then you do sometimes. You want that, like that fear.
Yeah,
just the right amount of intimidated and. Yeah.
No, it keeps you very young. You're like, okay, I gotta like be. Yeah, bolder, or
you're not like a tenured. You don't just get to keep your spot because you've been here. You got to like keep trying to. Get laughs.
You earn your keep, and you were talking earlier about like alt comedy, and that's like I've heard it described as like. Well, I watched this documentary that I loved and would recommend to anyone who's interested in stand-up comedy or is like or into queer culture and learning about it. But it's called Outstanding, a Comedy Revolution, and it's about like the past like 60 years of stand-up comics who've been queer or like they're gay or something, and like whether they were like, and you know, some closeted for that time and when they came out. But where was I going with this? But in that one, someone said like, it was like an older comic who was like, you know, when we were doing comedy and like hustling as like 20-something year olds, it was so like jokes first, and like and these comics were talking about how like they were being advised like, don't talk about gay, like no one's there to hear you talk about being gay.
No one's gonna book you. Just do
your jokes. Do what you're told to do.
Don't threaten these people.
Right. Just tell your jokes. But then they're like, but now we see these young comics, and it's now the culture's so shifted where it's like identity first and then jokes. Like, where it's like, hi, this is who I am. And then the funny angle of it. And I'm just like, I mean, as someone who's just like head over heels in love with like authenticity, I think living an authentic life is like the biggest, most important value I have in my life, and like what I want my 4-year-old to take away from my parenting is so wild. You just realize like, oh, I'm not going to be able to do it all. I'm not going to be able to do it all perfect. You just kind of like the spark joy. It's like, what's the most important thing in my parenting? And for me, it's like, I want my kid to feel so safe being who they really are, which is why I watch the stupidest YouTube videos because they're so important to my kid, and I want to know
why.
Just like
inspirational stuff.
Wait, like, on YouTube?
Yeah. What do you mean? Which ones do you?
Right. I watch other people play video games.
Oh, for your kid.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Gotcha. Okay.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I thought you were like saying you show them like, I was like, well, that sounds great, but no, that does sound horrible.
Right,
like
it
watching
is horrible.
Like videos that 4-year-olds like opening presents or like playing video games.
Ryan's World, but which is funny. Like the little kid. Trying to like not you're trying to like follow, like be there as a friend and be like, what are you interested in, we'll do that, instead of being like, I've made a list of things that are good for your brain, and I'm gonna force that on you. I'm trying. I mean, don't get me wrong, I would love it if people could see me as the parent who's like, oh, we don't do any screens, like, or you know, we didn't ever use an iPad. But I'm just like, my kid loves video games, and like honestly, all my friends who made the most money in LA worked in video games. Like I'm just like, and I'm like, there's a whole culture to it, and I get why he likes it, because it's like
they're solving problems and stuff, right?
Yeah,
it's not totally passive.
And you're writing your own story, and it's like he doesn't, he likes going to the movie theater with me, but because it's like an event, like there's such ceremony to going to the big movie theater.
Oh yeah,
but
we just saw Inside Out 2. It's the first time I've been to the movie theater since pre-pandemic. It was incredible. Just like crying in the movie theater with your family. It was like, oh my god, hell yeah, we need to come back here more than once every 5 years. That
movie's so good. Yeah. But yeah, no, he loves video games, and it's like, but yeah, authenticity. I just love it, and I love like so. And it's so funny because like there's a couple comics, and because I am just like so like, I mean, I think I'm even gonna say it on stage this week, where I'm like gonna do my squirrel suicide joke and then say, because I like start talking about the squirrel, but then I'm like talking about me quickly, but in the guise of like giving the squirrel advice. And then I think I just want to say something like, I'm like, yeah, so if you don't like authenticity, you're going to hate this. And then say something like 14 men suddenly just like have to go to the bathroom. And I'm like, and that's okay.
Yeah,
but
that's
like,
good.
Yeah. But some comics have like,
fuck those guys.
I mean, honestly, I'm just like, this mic is loud. You'll probably catch something anyway. But when I've noticed some stand-ups like come up or just kind of been like let me know, like I'm trying to be more vulnerable, or there's something I want to talk, like something I know about their personal life, and I'm just like, dude, that's so exciting, because it's like it doesn't even matter how the audience responds. It feels so good because you're loving that part of yourself. And I think so stand-up really helped me come out. The other thing that really helped me heal and come out was this type of therapy called internal family systems, which is like I get the language of like my inner gay girl, or like that kind of that just repressed, that shut down, that she's very bold, aggressive, sharp, just like
she's like the shadow of like what you had to be as a teenager.
Yeah. So, and like, using parts language, but I just like, what I love about IFS is the whole thing. Like, so the intro book that's like great if people want to learn about IFS it's called No Bad Parts. And it's like truly the belief like that there's no bad part about you. There are parts that are wounded. There are parts that are like burdened and like, have just like been abused. And so they're very protective, which like, driven from like fear and shame, which means like when they drive, like, you might hurt other people, or just like, you're not available to be like open-hearted. But then you like the whole, like IFS is very much kind of like, I like it because it's part meditative, where you just like go in and you talk to those parts and you just learn the most incredible things about yourself. Oh my God.
Are you like with somebody, like a guide? Or are you doing it alone?
Yeah, I did it with a therapist, like an IFS therapist. I found, and I've done ones where like more talk therapy based, where we'll talk about the parts. But I mean, right now I think I'm going to supplement my current therapist with one who just does the because I'm just like, I want to go talk to those parts again.
Yeah.
Because like, I mean, the day I like realized I was queer, or the day after I realized I was queer, I was freaking out, and I like texted my therapist, and I was like, can we do like just an emergency phone session, because I was out of town. So we did that, and we did this like meditation, and there was this like girl in the void, like this part of me, and I knew my suicidal ideation came from her. I knew this part of me that just like, and it's like, I wish we talked about suicidal ideation like more. Everyone happens, but it's like, it's not like I have it all the time, but it's like when it comes up, it hurts like hell, and it's scary as fuck. And it's like, it'd be nice if more of us talked about it.
Yeah.
But I knew it came from her, the pain she had. And it was like, every session became like this girl in the void, this girl in the cave. And like, I dropped pictures of her, and it was just like, I was starting to get hopeless. It was like, I can't, like, there's nothing I can do. And then I came out as queer. Oh God, I don't want to cry. And she came out. I mean, I love crying. I told a joke on stage where I'm like, at the queer show I did at this Pride show, I almost cried on stage, and I was like, no, I just started my set, and I was like, no, don't do it. Actually, just kidding. I love crying in front of you. I'm like, get uncomfortable. I get off on it. But she came out of the cave, and she sat in my lap, and it was like one of the most transformative like moments of my life. I was like, holy fuck, I'm gonna heal from this. Like, I'm not always gonna have this like part of me that's just like, I'm broken, I'm always gonna be wrong, I can't be here. And then after that was when like stand-up really took on a new flavor of like, actually that was when I started enjoying it more. Like that's when I really let go of the like I need to do stand up so many times, or like a way to keep it fun is to be very goal oriented. But after that, I was just like, those minutes on stage, the outfits I would pick, wearing more and more kind of gay clothes or like less feminine. And then it just was like cathartic as fuck. And like, there was this part of me that was started to like mourn, like, I want to be this off stage. And I was like, okay, well now we know like what it is. And I'm like, we can work towards that. And so like this past year has just been that. And now like, man, I've been having,
that's awesome though. I feel like I've just being in this scene for 9 years, I've seen people change so much when you see like who they were when they came to their first mics, and then
oh my God,
who they are like off stage after a year. Is that it really is this? It's cliche to like compare it to therapy, but there's some transformative.
Oh no,
I think that's why I started
therapy.
stand up after I had my first kid. And I was like trying to read books to my kid and just be a person who could have a voice in the world, and being like, man, I never really learned to do that.
Oh,
and like
yes.
I want to learn how to talk good and express myself and find my voice.
I'm so glad you brought that
it's
up.
like having a baby, maybe be like, fuck, I need to like figure out how to talk.
Yes, yeah, because like, and it's wild when you have a kid. It's wild because it's like, because how it started was I was like reparenting my inner child. And you realize like, oh, because the books are so different. PBS Kids is so different. Sesame Street is so different. I mean, the amount of times I have just like quietly wept so my 4-year-old doesn't notice, or a 3-year-old at the time, to PBS Kids is wild. I mean, just because like, I love Sesame Street. I love PBS Kids. I really love the programming on Disney Plus too, because they're getting gayer. I can see. I swear that
Pixar.
Yeah. It's like I was like those two girls in the background, they're gay. It's just like queer coded a little bit, and I'm like, we're getting closer to first gay Disney princess. But yeah, it's wild. And it's like and then you're giving your kid all this love of like, it's okay to be you. And there's a part of you that's just like, why can't I do that too? Yeah. And where it's like, use your voice, be who you really are. And then I love that you also started stand up after becoming a parent. And then because you get up on stage and it's like, it's just a way to do that. It's like it's a way to like reintroduce yourself to the world and also to yourself. Yeah. Of just like, and it's a role, like what I love about stand up is it's totally, when I'm on stage, it's an identity that has nothing to do with a role I play to anyone else in my life.
Yeah. It's a big part of it. It's like not just like career dad. It's a lot of hours every day, which is great. It gives me purpose, but it's like there's something I do.
Yeah. Wait, so you say career dad?
Yeah, like I have a job, like I just work on a computer and I have my kids, and it's just just so much energy.
Oh God.
So it's like this thing that's like just for me.
Like, it's self-love.
Yeah. Like, and starting it in your mid 30s, it's almost like I was like 34, 35 when I started. So it's like you're not really supposed to. You can like, I still have some people that I was close to at that time that which is not, it's like almost threatening sometimes to people that it's like, you can't just change who you are at this age,
they
it's
get
like,
so threatened.
Like I was a musician. So like before, so it was like, oh, we'll accept that about you. It's like, no, I'm doing this now. I'm really doing this, And it was kind of interesting to see like who supports you and who doesn't when you
honestly,
make a change like that.
When you start doing stand up, it's like, it's a form of coming out. Cause like what you just described, it's like for me, I didn't differentiate it because I was like coming out as I was doing stand up. So like I noticed it when it's like just people like just kind of drift away, and it's not personal. At first
it's
I was
fine. Everyone doesn't need to.
No, and it's like
come to my shows.
But it's like
acknowledge it,
and it's like probably because they want to be on stage.
Yeah, totally. That's exactly what it is. I'm sure of it. It's like the blocked artist thing.
It's like there's a part of themselves that they can't meet, and it's that desire to be heard in a big way.
And you're amplifying that they're not doing it.
Yeah,
so
they suddenly
that's threatening, and that just kind of. But
they're like faced with it, and they're just like very uncomfortable. And like, when I came out as like queer, and then when I just was like, no, I think I'm like really, really, really gay. Like I don't think men are in the future for me, and like telling that to some people, and these some of them are queer women. But in relationships with men, like in committed relationships with men that are like straight appearing, and they just drifted away. And that was shocking to me. And also, of course, like not shocking.
They're like, you're not going to have to deal with these gross dudes anymore. That's not fair. Like we can't hang out. You're just like not going to have to deal with this shit. Like that's not an option for me. So we can't really. Is it like that?
It's like you said gross dudes. But it's like, no, but it's like the part of them that just like aches for female connection and like
Yeah.
and I mean I didn't even know what the word sapphic was. I mean I didn't know what U-hauling was. 3 days after I learned what U-hauling was, I did it on stage where I was like I was like I learned.
I don't know what that is.
It's like
me at open mics is just like
Google it.
always like being like young people saying some new words.
It's like when lesbians like start dating and kind of like move in together right away.
Okay.
So that's like a trope.
Okay.
But it's like lesbians like own it. They love it. It's a whole thing.
That's
like,
a thing. Like lesbians will like move in, like be like go. Does it work? Does it usually work out?
Well,
that's why you don't usually do it, right? Because it's like maybe we should see if we like each other for.
Yeah, it's like it's so funny because like
months.
Right. So many lesbians are like therapy. It's just like the commitment to like being emotionally intelligent and just like such kind of caretaker energy. But yeah, like lesbians are very aware of it and just I love lesbian culture and like if someone's like I want to learn about like get on TikTok, get on Instagram, just cheat your algorithm like a bunch of gay girl stuff in a row and like you'll start meeting these people and the culture of it is so funny because it's being created like the outspokenness is being created right now. Like I love this other podcast called like Two Dykes and a Mic. And it's just normalizing all this gay girl stuff. But yeah, U-hauling, like lesbians know it. And they're like, like this couple I follow. It's like this very funny kind of internet person who I identify a lot with her. And then she's dating this like model race car driver, just gorgeous. Like, are you real? That's not real. You're not a real person. You're so beautiful. You're like in a movie. You're a movie woman. And so they're dating and like, but it's so sweet. They just like vlog so openly about their relationship the first but like they made it, one of them made the one who I really identify with, who's like kind of I guess the more like masculine one in the relationship, was just making this joke about like, no, we didn't U-haul. Like they're openly like, we're not going to move in together right away. They moved to the same city. That was a big deal. They had different apartments. And then she goes like, no, we didn't U-haul. How many nights have I spent at my own apartment in the last 3 months? And then she like just like bashfully like holds up 2 fingers really quick and she's like,
yeah, that's fine. If you got your own apartment though, you're still like there's an exit strategy there. I think
it's like I think with lesbians like what like maybe makes a woman like love other women so much that they're just like, I mean for me I tried to just be like I'm queer, and there was a part of me that's like I want to call myself a lesbian because like what I want is like just hours of talking or just the fluidity of like so much quality time. Like there was a term like sapphic love and I didn't know what that was, or sapphic relationships, but that's like there's just like so much focus on emotional intimacy and just like spending so much time together. And that's why, and also like, I mean, lesbianism, lesbianism is just such a it just wasn't like reported on when we were growing up. It was just there was a very limited amount of it.
The Indigo Girls.
Ellen. What is? Oh, Ellen, right. Yeah. It was like Katy Perry that one time singing a song about I Kissed a Girl. It's like that's all we had. But it's like, so I think the other part of U-hauling is like, it's like suddenly you have like a full glass of water to drink instead of like surviving off of just like droplets of water every now and then, and you're just like, I'm gonna drink the whole thing. I want to drink you in, and the other woman being I want to drink you in too, and just like not being afraid of emotional intimacy the way I think men are socialized to have to be like where it's like you have to,
everything you said is relatable to me. I grew up with like 2 sisters and just, like closer to my mom, so I've never really had like groups of I never understood like dudes groups. Like I've always kind of like I prefer to just like get real and talk. So that's everything you just said is like my preferred way too. So it's kind of weird, but I did sense that growing up that was like, gay, like not in a good way.
Oh my God.
Just wanting to just hang out and talk about feelings and stuff all the time. I was like, this is my safe space.
I love that. It's so funny because like I realized early on,
it feels like the culture is kind of caught up to that, which is cool. But also living in Asheville like is deceiving, I think too. Because like I'll do shows in like rural areas around here, and it's
different.
They want the setup. They do not want vulnerability. They don't want gay shit. Like it's still kind of like
they don't want feelings.
Yeah,
like,
even like weed gummies. They're like, whoa, So it's
I love that. It's so funny because from an early age, like in high school, I noticed quickly. I was like, oh, like I love having guy friends. All the ones I really connect with have sisters. Like they have an older there's just this comfortability they have with it. And it's like, and same thing, like I work in a movie theater. So I work with I'm like manage all these teenagers, and like some of them are just like scared of, I don't know, to talk, and then some of them are just like da, da, da. And I find out those ones who are just kind of just like fluent in being like more open in this beautiful way, I'm like, they just have sisters or had a lot of like, I guess you'd call it like kind of that sapphic was the normal. And I'm like, and what I love about it is like, I mean, all men deserve that. All dudes deserve that. And I love Brene Brown, and
yeah.
And I love the way she starts. She was like, at first I was only researching like women, and then this dude came up and he was like, you know, men have a lot of shame too. And it was in this way where he said it was like,
we just don't realize we do a lot of times.
Yeah. And I mean, the way she described it, and then the research she started doing where it's just like men trapped in this box, this rigid, like toxic masculinity is like inherited, and it's like, you're asked to be so rigidly a thing. And it's like I think the trade-off is like men get more power within our society, like in a patriarchal society, but the trade-off is like men have to be a very specific thing, whereas women are just like not paid attention to. So you can be like, you can wear whatever the fuck you want. And like, you know, it's like, you can be a tomboy and no one cares. But with dudes, it's like, you have to be this type that is like just, and it's the opposite of vulnerability. And then so much, so just the lonely, I think just so lonely. And it makes me so sad for dudes. And like, yeah, I think guys who grow up like with sisters, they're like, oh yeah, no, like just one of them. I like being able to be open.
Yeah, I played music with a lot of guys growing up, and that was kind of like the closest it came. But you kind of speaking with like sounds. That was kind of like the only sensitive guy groups that I found. Yeah, but it still wasn't the same as like talking about stuff. But it was like being in a band kind of felt like you could sort of be more gay, you know?
Yeah,
like rock stars are always kind of look just more androgynous, you know,
so beautifully.
Like embracing the
fluid. I love it. Yeah. And I mean, I think video game culture, I think, is so sweet too. Cause like once I realized like, oh, this is how the only way a lot of men have to like connect with other men is just, it's like quality time. I feel like quality time is the one kind of thing you can get away with in like a society that's like, be the toxic masculine dude. It's like, oh, I can spend time like video gaming, but it's like, I remember like this one dude is like, you know, I got my weekly. I'm like, what do you love about it? And he's like, my friend, like my guy friends, like my brothers. And I'm like, that's
are they
so
like on the
sweet.
little, is they like talking to each other? Yeah, I can sort of get that. They're like whispering at each other's ears while they're like murdering a bunch of zombies. I don't know how, I don't play video games, but there is like, they're kind of like right there in each other's ears.
Have you seen that like Leroy Jenkins video? Oh, okay, it's really funny. It's but it's these dudes playing video games together. Yeah, it's I'd love to see more stand-ups just like be more vulnerable and like, and it's like no, I don't care how long you've been doing stand-up, you can always be, you're always allowed to be more you.
Yeah,
and like
shatter the old, like that's what I like about not being like, people are like trying to get, like when I was in my 20s I want to like make it as a musician and like get fans, and it's like it seems like almost like a trap. Like it's kind of nice to not ever be big time, because there's not some audience you're going to disappoint. It's just like, why wouldn't I just do whatever the fuck I want with it this year? There's no fans. It's kind of freeing in that way. It just is its own like self-exploration, its own like community sort of thing. I do sort of feel like it's just, I'm now that I'm like 20 years older than, like if you're like in your 20s and doing comedy, like I could be your dad. So like when I started I was like more like 35. But that's kind of interesting too, because I've never thought of myself as being like toxic masculinity, but I did just grow up like so immersed in all that, and it was like, you know, you didn't even have a word for it. So it's like you are kind of a product of what you grew up with too. So it's like, I'm not gonna pretend that I wasn't shaped by that, you know. I think like having daughters, and my wife's like a very progressive lady, she kept her last name, all that kind of stuff. So it's like it's an interesting thing, like toxic masculinity. I don't know. It's like,
I like, you did this joke on stage about like, you're like, I'm the only one who changes the toilet paper in my house. And you're like, because you have only daughters. I thought that was so funny.
Oh, thanks.
It's just like, I think, I love it when people open up, because it's like, I always want to know. I'm so curious. And also like, and I'm the most curious about people who have happy families and happy home life. Like I'm a child of divorce. Now I'm going through a divorce, and like, So I'm like still curious. I feel like it's very generous. I think this is what stand-ups don't understand is like you being vulnerable is not you being like selfish. You're actually being so generous. Like you're sharing things about yourself that are personal to you. It's like you're giving a gift, but like so many stand-ups just have so much self-loathing. They're just like, no one wants to hear about that. It's too self-indulgent. And I'm just like, you are making other people who can't say this stuff feel less alone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's cool. And I think that's kind of maybe what slowly happened to me like over the last 9 years doing stand up. Like I was talking with Cloud about that when they were on the pod, like just about how like if you have a guitar and you strum it for decades, like it literally changes the wood, the sound waves like slowly over it becomes different resonance. And I think
that's so cool.
If you sit there for like, whatever 960 stand-up shows full of these weirdos and they're just it's just hitting you. It's like it does change you, So there's you go out because I went out because I wanted to be on stage, but actually just kind of sitting there and like letting it hit you, like wash over you. It's like it'll change you in that way, which is really cool.
I think it's like I feel like it's like Miracle Grow on yourself, and that's like why my like inner gay girl, this like because she is in recovery, like she is very reactive and like I feel very sensitive to things, and it's like I'm like you were literally like locked in a dungeon. Like those IFS meditations, like the thing I love about it, and I encourage creatives to really try it or look into it. It's because it's like it's great for creatives because like your body creates pictures in your mind of what its experience is. And so like for me, it's like she was like locked in a dungeon and I was like, holy fuck. And like at first I just knew there was someone who was in a dungeon and she was starting the door was open, but she was still in there. And I was just like, oh my God. But like, why did I start talking about this? Did
she look like cute or did she look like that little girl from The Ring? Like, was it like a was you're like, oh, this is was it like
it was actually
somebody that you were scared of, or is it somebody you're like, oh,
it's so funny. At first it was
I'd like her to sit on my lap.
I'm trying to think. She was never like The Ring. God, that movie messed me up. But it was like honestly just like couldn't see her. Just this weird sense that she was there. And then sometimes it was like it's so funny because sometimes it's like cartoonish. Sometimes she was just this like very bright like white light, just this like kind of heavenly light. And I like figured out early on, I was like, oh, my artistic drive comes from here. And but it's like she's where all my like spontaneity comes from, and like just playfulness that when you're closeted or stuck in like a kind of toxic masculinity like little box prison, it's like you don't get to be playful and spontaneous because it's too risky. Like what if you do the wrong thing? And so like you healing that part of yourself, like I just love it. I love the interplay for me between stand-up and therapy, because like the more I heal in therapy, the more fun stand-up becomes. The more I do stand-up and have fun with stand-up, the more I like learn about parts of myself that it's just like a fun like back and forth. And it's like that Miracle Grow effect where I've just like, I mean, my God, I started reading journal entries that I wrote a year ago and I was like, whoa, like we're different. And like then I looked at a vlog from like 4 years ago and I was like, I don't even recognize this person.
That's cool that you have all that you can like when you're old, you can look at the evolution.
That's why I did the YouTube vlog, I think, and like, which is so funny.
That's how I view all my content. Is it's for me later. It's scrapbooking, and if other people do enjoy it, that's a bonus. But I don't need that.
Yeah, it's digital scrapbook. I love it, and it's like, and it's very generous. Like, when I got into therapy, that's when I started vlogging about it. And like I just like it's like I love talking about it. It was so healing for me to talk about it, and then other people, just normalizing it for other people, because I was just trying, my whole thing was like I was just trying to destigmatize it, and also I was like, if you're a writer, you gotta go to therapy. Like if you want to do something as challenging as writing or stand like creating art, if you have creative unrest and have to make art, it's like that, it's beautiful, but it's like it's a harder way to live, like because you live with that creative unrest, and I'm like, you deserve therapy, you deserve the support of therapy, and like therapy will help you enjoy your process more, Because like it's the difference between like when I make this great art, I'll be enough. It's not, it becomes like I'm enough.
I'm still trying to untangle that one. I'm kind of
course.
still realizing I'm like, that's kind of like my self-worth to myself is almost tied up in it, you know?
Yeah.
But then, I think I just turned 45 and that's kind of like, all right, 50 is like as close as, like that's really starting to shift now where it's like, this is it. It's exhausting to try to just keep making that masterpiece or whatever the goal. I don't even know exactly what it was, but I'm just exhausted by it. Like trying to keep just. And
it's like, it's the way we're social, that like destination addiction or like drive. I'm so excited for you taking this break though, because I think it's going to be like super restorative. And I read this book. I think it's called Deep Work, but and those are the kind I do read. If it's like not about like if it's you got to do something every day, I stay far from it because it it doesn't work with
Deep Work is like focuses the new IQ, right?
It's like Deep Work. I also love the book Essentialism, which is just like, just what sparks joy, kind of like that. It's just like what's actually most important, like, and it just being brave enough to let the other things go and realize that like the bad things don't happen. It just gets better and like nobody gets mad at you. But Essentialism I love, and I forgot what. No, I already forgot. I think I'm like short on sleep, and when I'm short on sleep,
we should. Like, we're at an hour and a half. We're past this,
cool.
so
we can wrap up.
We can wrap it up.
Yeah. Wait, what was I gonna say? Oh, but I'm really excited for you to take this break because like, but in Deep Work, that was it. In Deep Work, he talks about how like all these like famous people like regularly just like took at least a week. Even these like mogul, I think like I don't know, famous people. I don't remember their names, but like very rich white men would go and like take a week off, like, and they would like not be contactable, like, and they were like, that was where they got all their best ideas. And I'm like, rest is so productive.
It really is. Rest is productive. Like just the grind culture of the stand-ups culture. Hey, there's one of my kids.
Oh my God, how fun.
What's
Hello.
up, June? Come on in.
Oh, hi.
This is Linda. This is June.
Hi, June.
Hi, Linda.
I love that name.
It's not the commonest, so.
June is, it's like everyone knows how to spell it, but not too many people have it. That's so fun.
Thanks.
Well, should we wrap up on this note? Okay. Aww. Well, thanks for coming on, Linda.
Oh my God,
it was a lot
thank
of
you
fun
for having me, Ryan. This was delightful.
Yeah, we should do it again.
Oh my God, I would
feel like
love
we could
to.
definitely go.
Oh, I
all
know.
day,
We love to talk. I mean, it's once I was like, oh, he likes to talk about the creative process. Like, oh, this is gonna be fun.
Yeah, when you were like, hey, is it okay if I get like personal and real and deep? I was like, oh yeah.
Oh, good. I know. I was like, okay, this is gonna go well.
Yay. I'll get a water bottle.
Oh my gosh, thank you. Yeah, I love this teal marble thing. Thank you.